Hey everyone, and welcome to the 500 sub special. We did it, everyone. We got to 500 subs, and that's definitely a milestone I'm excited about. So I decided to open up the comments section and solicit some questions from all of y'all to see what y'all want to know about me or Grixis Control. I feel like I'm usually pretty good at answering questions when they pop up down there, but I thought I'd just open up the phone lines to see if anyone had anything more in depth they wanted me to go into, and I got some good ones. So I set up a little slideshow here. So yeah, let's see what y'all want to know. Let's kick off with this one from Philip Semlinger. Hi Teddy, congrats for making 500 subs. Thank you. I always feel like you have way more subs since your content is just peak control content. That's really nice of you to say, and I do appreciate it. And hopefully we can get double 500 subs because YouTube doesn't monetize until you hit 1K. Um, but yeah, let's get into the questions here. Brewing Pauper Grixis Control, the de facto Grixis deck in Pauper's Grixis Affinity. I have heard that before. And what do you feel like is special when building a Grixis deck compared to classic blue-white, blue-black, or Bant? So for me, in Grixis, you have the great ability to play with basics, and a lot of decks can do that in Legacy. Well, not a lot per se, but a handful can, but they're usually one or two colors. Blue White Control is a great example that can play with the plains and islands, but once they get into Jeskai, things start getting a little strange, and sometimes they'll have to supplant their mana base with a volcanic island. Jeskai really suffers with basic mountains, so it makes cards like Back to Basics a little harder for them to leverage, and it makes their red mana a little less stable when playing against decks like Delver or lands. Whereas we don't mind the basic mountain so much, even though I often say it is the worst land in the deck by a long shot. It's also the best land in the deck in the right scenarios. So I feel like we were able to leverage that a lot better because we're not just playing Pyroblast or Red Blast. We're also playing Kolgon's Command and Lightning Bolt and other random red cards that come and go throughout the years, depending on the meta. So that is what really changes it, kind of makes it different from Blue White or Bant to me. Also, the ability to play Lightning Bolt in a control deck is something that I've always really cherished. Before I played predominantly Grixis Control and Legacy, I was a modern Jund player throughout like the Ren 6 era, a little bit before that too. I guess before Modern Horizons 1, though, I was playing a lot of Mardu Pyromancer, which was really more of a black red deck that splashed white for Lingering Souls and some sideboard options. Um, and being able to play Lightning Bolt in a control deck is something that I truly love because is the in my eyes the most malleable one drop in the game. It inspires me as such. Anyways, I know there are probably scientifically more versatile cards for one mana, but as far as a card that inspires me, Lightning Bolt is the one, and you don't get that in straight blue black. You don't get it in Bant, and you don't get it in blue white. So that's what draws me to Grixis Control primarily. I think I mentioned in maybe the first Modern Horizons 3 video when I was questioning Lightning Bolt's place in the new meta with Psychic Frog around and all these Eldrazi, I was questioning what was really keeping us in Grixis if Lightning Bolt kind of fell out of favor in the meta. Fortunately, that has not come to pass yet. I'm still having a great time with my 4 Lightning Bolts. So yeah, basics and Lightning Bolt are pretty much the main draws to Grixis for me because I still want to be able to theoretically answer anything, and you can't really do that in straight red. Can't do that in straight blue. Can't really do that in blue black. You've seen a lot of like really powerful tempo decks in blue black still have their weaknesses, like the current Scaminator deck terrorizing the meta. There are a lot of weaknesses that you can exploit in that deck despite its brutal efficiency. And even to a certain extent, Bant. I mean, white removal has long been held up as the major check for the legacy format just because it's so absolute and versatile. However, most of it just trades one for one and also can tend to be not turned on its head if you need to like end the game or get some reach across. And that's what I like most about red removal and black removal excepting Fatal Push. Y'all know I'm not a really big Fatal Push fan. That gets me into some trouble with certain people. You know I love you, but yeah, Fatal Push's lack of versatility just makes me a big Bolt lover. And yeah, hopefully that answered the question. It is hard to really um, find unique things to say about the differences between them because on its face, it's pretty clear that Bant can take the game a lot longer, is a lot better at grinding with cards like Uro, Endurance. Green creatures are bigger than red, black, or blue creatures, and white just has better removal. So, on an even playing field, Bant has a lot more blanket protection against the format at large. It's probably a more balanced choice. But if you want to live life on the edge a little bit, I think Grixis control is where you want to be, and that's what draws me to the deck at the end of the day. And I guess I went into a little bit with this on the last question. How did I end up on my exact mana base for Grixis? I get the 5 basics and 2 island, 2 swamp, 1 mountain, so you can cast all your spells under like Blood Moon or not worry about Wasteland. But why 2 Badlands and 1 volcanic island? Why the blue-black Surveil land? And why do I split the fetches the way I do? Let's see here. Maybe it'd be helpful to bring up my actual mana base for this question. So when I picked up the deck, I was looking at 2 specific versions of it. One was Reed Duke's list from GP Richmond, which did not have a basic mountain, but had 2 volcanic islands, and then the other one was Yuta Takahashi's list, which had 21 lands, including a basic mountain, and neither one was really gelling with me too much. Oh, this has 20 lands in it. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is my... Okay, maybe I did this in preparation for the video. Yeah, this is probably the cleanest essence of my mana base, although if you want to go back to like the classic times, it would have been like that. This was the mana base I developed after a lot of grinding, and it was a marriage between Reed Duke and Utah's mana bases. I knew I wanted the basic mountain because I was running into a lot of frustration against decks like Delver or lands where I just wanted a red source I could rely on and not worry about Wasteland. And having to bolt an early threat out of Delver and having that land get Wastelanded, even though I think my philosophy has changed a lot and now I see that Wasteland is not such a bad trade. But if you're operating on a thin margin, your hand is like barely keepable, which happens a lot with Grixis control because it's not exactly the most powerful deck in the format. I really cherish the ability to fetch a basic mountain. However, also 21 lands felt like too many. My curve is nice and slim. I've always kind of had 2 or less 4 drops. So yeah, that's the genesis of the mana base. Let's go to what it is now though, because that's kind of what the question was about. So 2 Badlands. A lot of that comes down to how your mana will progress throughout the game. Our most common turn 1 play is Ponder on turn 1, and I want to fetch a basic island when I do that. It plays around Wasteland. It's just a great way to start your game, and it opens up a lot of lines in the future as well. Baleful Strix, more blue for Narset. It's not really a big ask to get a basic island. Giving up on the flexibility of your mana for stability is a cornerstone of this deck. And then from there, if you deduce that you are able to not worry about Wastelands so much, Badlands is the next land you want to get to round out your colors. So I like having 2 for that reason. I only like having 1 volcanic island. I feel like they go together. I'm going to start with basic island, so I want to branch out with my colors a little more and get a Badlands. And also for that reason, if one happens to get Wastelanded, I want to be able to get another one. Whereas Volcanic Island is a pretty redundant land, especially with basic mountain. I don't really feel the need to have more than 1, and it is kind of there when you need it. If you have like a fetch land and you are passing the turn and you want to either bolt or spell pierce or something like that, or most commonly the situation I find is, do I want a red blast or do I want a blue blast? Having a volcanic island is nice for that reason, but in terms of overlapping colors, Volcanic Island is the one you'll see probably the least, because we don't really play that many red cards until post sideboard. Oh, Murktide Region. Oh, you probably can't see that. My face is probably in the way. As for Undercity Sewers, why is it Undercity Sewers and not a different surveil land? That is a good question. I haven't really tested that out yet. I keep saying I want to try out Raucous Theater, but I haven't never gotten around to it. I should try it though. Maybe I'll sub Underground Sea back in. And although it's pretty crucial for Badlands to be an untapped mana source, I chose Undercity Sewers mostly because we're going to have an abundance of blue and black mana if our progression is going well. So we don't mind having an additional blue or black source come in tapped. Like, if you're in a dire strait and you're reaching for that Badlands for removal, but the first one got wastelanded and the other one's coming in tapped, you might be out of a game there. So Undercity Sewers producing like the least proactive colors while also being colors we really need. It just felt like the best choice in practice, but I still want to try Raucous Theater out because all those situations I just outlined, it's all very abstract, you know, like Magic is a game of like infinite possibilities, it seems, most of the time. I think Thundering Falls is out of the question, though. Like I said, Volcanic Island is really just there, has some glue. Since we have Basic Mountain, one is good. So yeah, hopefully that helps elucidate things. I get that question kind of a lot. Let's move to the next slide, huh? All right, Bryce Hansen asked quite a few questions, which was really nice. Really helped fill things out here. Funniest MTGO moment. Oh man. So the chat is great. It's really funny. I love that it's there. I like that it is censored sometimes, and I still haven't found out how to uncensor it, but I'll find out someday. And I just remember I started one match, and my opponent types GL HF, good luck, have fun. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty normal and a friendly way. Most of the time, I feel like people don't say anything at the start, so I just say thanks, you too. And then at the end of the match, when it was over, I had won, and they just type F you. It just struck me as so funny, and just like there was like a perfunctory nature to how just using abbreviations to express how you're feeling, and it just summed it up so well. But it was also a complete subversion of the good sportsmanship in the beginning. That it will always stick with me as something very funny. To that end, I also had the chat closed for one match, and I was playing a really tight game against like mono black depths, and eventually the depths player like got over the line and won. This was game 3. It was going back and forth. I had beat them in game 2 after scraping back from nothing. So it was tense, and I was like, I gotta hit this person with the GGs. This was wild. So I open up the chat, and I just see like a tirade of the most heinous language I had ever seen. Like, what's that like X smell like? Like nice Jace X boy and stuff. Just like horrible stuff. And I was like, never mind. I'm not gonna type GGs. I'll just concede. Do I cook often? Favorite type of food? Do I cook often? I love Thai food. Here in Seattle, we have really great Thai food, and I used to cook quite a bit back when I had a more normal Monday through Friday schedule. Nowadays, I've kind of been able to somewhat achieve my dreams. I work in entertainment now. I'm a musician and a performer. So now that I work predominantly nights, I don't cook as often. My groceries mainly consist of a bunch of breakfast stuff, toast, peanut butter, granola. I do have some frozen stuff in my freezer just in case I am at home. But most nights, I feel like I'm not getting home until like 11 or midnight or something. So I don't cook as much anymore, but I can cook. I worked in restaurants for a long time. I still actually work in a restaurant on weekend mornings. I do some prep at a vegan pizza place in Seattle. So yeah, I guess I do cook often, just not really for myself. All right. Giles Webinger asks, my favorite magic card? I touched on it earlier. It's Lightning Bolt. I love Lightning Bolt. I love how many things it can do. I love that it costs 1 red. I love that it can target anything. I think they just hit it out of the park in the first set, which is crazy. How often does that happen? There's a lot of designs in alpha and beta that just nailed it, and Lightning Bolt has to be my favorite. Runner-ups, though, I say this on the channel a lot. Kolaghan's Command, it's another one of my favorites. Just does so much. The 2-for-1s that you can devise and try and figure out with Kolaghan's Command, the windows of opportunity with the discard mode. Draw step is the easy one when they're hellbent, but other things like if a storm player is going off and they're generating so much storm for their final card so they can crack LED. This doesn't happen so much anymore because Besiege the Mirror is a huge upgrade to Infernal Tutor, but there were opportunities where I could snipe that Burning Wish or that Infernal Tutor with Kolaghan's Command. It just has so much play to it. And then after that, I've always loved Scalding Tarn and Polluted Delta. There's something about fetch lands that are just like, it's a combination of the art, how how vague they look, how they suggest the land types that they fetch for you. That's a Scalding Tarn, but also Bloodstained Mire. I love that one. Polluted Delta, yeah. Here we go. Just opening up a hand and the possibilities of mana, of your future, of your mana development. So I do love fetch lands too. Yeah, I think those are my three favorite cards. I know fetch lands are kind of more a type of card than a specific one. I guess I'll lock it in at Polluted Delta. Lightning Bolt, Kolaghan's Command, Polluted Delta. Let's keep going, huh? Oh yeah, here's some more good Bryce Hanson ones. What's your favorite book? What's your favorite book series? I have a hard time with favorites because I feel like I tend to be most excited about what I'm engaged with at the moment. And there are things that I would still stand up for that I enjoyed in the past, but saying something is like a favorite is difficult. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. I have this collection of articles from No Depression, which is an American music magazine, mostly focused on country or alternative country, and the stories that the interviewers just get into. A lot of it is just them spending a day with these musicians and learning about them, but there's interviews and profiles of Los Lobos from East Los Angeles. They're a great band. Ray Price, Lucinda Williams, one of my favorite singer-songwriters. Drive-by Truckers. I haven't listened to them too much actually, but I like the article about them here. Wilco, just some really great stuff about alternative country and the world that it inhabits. So I find myself going back to reading those a lot because it does read like kind of the incredible fiction in a non-fiction atmosphere. My favorite book series. Um, yeah, a huge cultural blind spot for me is like sci-fi, and I feel like a lot of the great book series are sci-fi, or at least a lot of the ones that I hear people talk about and get excited about, like Dune, or yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Um, as far as a book series that I've read, yeah, in general, long-running book series are just a huge cultural blind spot for me. So I guess I can kind of waylay that and talk about a long running TV series that I've enjoyed. I'm also usually pretty slow to pick up on TV though, but I enjoyed Shogun, which I saw recently. I'm watching The Bear now, which I've enjoyed quite a bit. Game of Thrones is great up until a certain point, of course, so it's cool to see House of the Dragon come back. I really liked Barry. I thought Barry was really cool. Yeah, a lot of great fiction out there. Favorite funny movie? I guess I have a few answers. There is a documentary called Dig, which is about two bands. One is called the Brian Jonestown Massacre, and the other one is the Dandy Warhols. The Brian Jonestown Massacre are also from San Francisco, like I am, so I have a weird fascination with them, and it's about kind of their rivalry and friendship. And while it wasn't written to really be a comedy, since documentaries I feel like are very rarely intended to be comedies, the way their relationship and rivalry plays out and the audacious nature of each of the band members just makes it one of the most funny and entertaining movies I've ever seen. And I think the whole thing's on YouTube now, which is pretty cool if you want to check it out. Robert Altman's The Player really hit that morbid sweet spot for just like, this is insane and funny, but also just really terrible. I think that was really spoke to my sense of humor. And I know for the final question, I just showed off a few cards not too long ago when I was talking about fetch lands. I do own this deck and paper. I've owned it for a long time, and in fact, I've been pretty slow to upgrade. Usually, like it took me a minute to get like Modern Horizons 3 cards. I didn't have 4 Bowmasters until like 6 months ago about. So I'm pretty slow to update in paper, but I do own it. I've owned it for a long time. I used to own a lot more cards, but when COVID hit, I sold a lot of them, regrettably. I used to have a Modern Jund deck and some Commander decks too, but I've held fast to this one. I love it. It's got my old beta basics from when I first started way back around Odyssey. Yeah, like I showed off, Onslaught fetch lands, revised dual lands I've had forever. What else? Revised lightning bolts I've had forever. Yeah, the upgrade would be beta lightning bolt, but then like those also aren't cards I've played with for that long. So at the same time, I feel like no real desire to upgrade these cards when I've had them for so long and I've played with them for so long. The sleeves are pretty new. I change the sleeves like maybe once a year because I don't play paper that much. Yeah, check out this lightning bolt. I've played with it so much. I love it. And yeah, for the second half of the question, I do play at Mox here in Seattle. Come say hi. All right. Let's tighten up this stack a little bit here. Oh, I already saw this one. Okay, here we go. TNN402 says bolt editing was hilarious. Not a big fan of the voice edits. Yeah, I someone compared it to Longmont Potion Castle, which I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but it was like a cult prank call person who I think is still largely anonymous from like the 80s or 90s, and they would like circulate these tapes, and it was very disorienting. And I apologize if I disoriented anyone with that 5.0 video, but yeah, we're still learning. We're trying to figure out the best way to present this content and make it as entertaining as possible. Sometimes we might go a little too far in one direction. Anyways, do I play any other games in my spare time? If so, which? Video games, tabletop, outdoor stuff. Yeah, I grew up with a 64, so I've been a lifelong fan of Nintendo systems, and they've fascinated me. Here, one second. I got a very modest selection of Nintendo Switch games like Mario Odyssey, Fire Emblem. I enjoy quite a bit because it's somewhat like Magic in a weird way, where it's very strategic and that weird cross of chess and poker. Legend of Zelda, love it. Ever since Ocarina of Time, I've been a huge Zelda fan. The world fascinates me. The gameplay just keeps getting more and more fun. Persona 5, I fell in love with this game last holiday season. Or no, that was like 2 years ago. Yeah, I've been a Persona fan for over a year now. Loved the story, loved the character development, and I love RPGs, just tactical planning. That should be no surprise since I play a lot of Grixis Control. I don't play any other tabletop games, but my bandmate has played like Warhammer and X-Wing and stuff, and I always enjoy hearing about that in Blood Bowl. So I like hearing him talk about it. And outdoors, I played a lot of soccer growing up. I was never good at basketball. They always put me as like a forward because I was tall for my age, but I just didn't have like a very aggressive mindset. So I was a really bad forward, but there were so few males in my class that if one person wasn't joined up for basketball, there wouldn't be enough people for a team. So I kind of felt pretty obligated to do that. Yeah. So nowadays for outdoor stuff, I run a lot. I try to make the gym every day. It's a big part of my mental health is exercise and running. So I guess that might qualify. I don't think many people think of running as a game, but when you're on a treadmill, I feel like you can kind of see it as that. All right. I just want to jump in here during the edit and say I feel like I also quote Warcraft 3 a lot on this channel, or I quote Warcraft 3 units, and I was really into that game too in like middle school, and also I'm kind of a latecomer to Final Fantasy. Like I first played FF7 when I was like 24, I think, but no, I've played almost all of them up to 9, and I haven't played 1, 2, and 3. So I've played 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. Have yet to play 8, but I know a lot about the characters like Squall and all that. So yeah, Final Fantasy 2. Okay. Your list looks highly personalized and incredibly fun, so I'd love to know more about your deck building process. Do you try sweet stuff on your own as often as you do in your videos? Do you have other players to bounce ideas or take inspiration from? How many of your one-ofs are fun-ofs versus being more permanent role players that withstood the test of time? Thank you. I think I'll pull up the deck list again for this one. This one will probably be a little harder to see though. Yeah, I'll try and get as much of the deck on screen here because I know the webcam is taking up a lot of it. But I feel like y'all are pretty familiar with the deck at this point. And I think the main culprit for starting as a fun of and became an integral part of the deck was Nimble Obstructionist. It started as something that I just wanted to try out, like Kolgon's command synergy, a stifle effect that's really hard to interact with, a stifle that fights through Teferi, Time Raveler against Doomsday and stuff like that. And then it just continually overperformed to the point that it just I can't really imagine playing without it. It's just become part of my mental toolbox. I always feel like I can reach for it if I need it. What else? Cling to Dust. I started trying this out in Modern Jund back when it first came out because it seemed like a really grindy tool with a really high floor, just one black cycle. Main deckable graveyard hate is something that's really valuable, and I just transferred it over to Grixis Control, and it has been a huge part of my plan ever since. Can't imagine playing without it. It's a very innocuous card as well, and no one really thinks about it too much. I feel like Stryfo was also probably the first adopter. I think I wasn't even. I swear, I was not even aware Stryfo was running it back when it first started. I think this is. I honestly think it was a instance of parallel thought. Y'all can hit up the OGs at the Grim Flayer Discord for proof. Not that it's necessary. I don't think anyone's really getting up in arms about who brought Cling to Dust to Legacy first. I'll concede that to Stryfo. Stryfo's been a big part of Legacy for a long time. But yeah, I also love Cling to Dust. What else? From the Catacombs has gone in and out for me, but in terms of like a grindy bomb in black, I can't think of a much better one. Obviously, there are cards that are kind of in vogue, like Ground Seal, that really screw with it. Also screws with Cling to Dust. Stop playing Ground Seal, everyone. Um, but I think I was the only person rocking this one. I don't think I discovered it. I'm pretty well, I mean, I was just looking up cards that have the initiative keyword on it because I was trying to find a way to leverage that as a fair black deck or just a fair deck in Legacy. Because other control decks at the time were doing it. They were like bank control decks with a seasoned engineer on the top end and stuff like that. And then I saw from the Catacombs and I was like, 5 mana, nah. But then I read it more and I was like, it has escape. That's pretty good. And then it can hit any graveyard. I might actually try this out. And then it was just crushing every single Yorion deck I was going up against. Beyond that, it was crushing every Beanstalk deck when I drew it. So that really stood the test of time. I haven't been playing it recently. This is a more current list that I've been messing with post Modern Horizons 3. But I should probably bring it back. I mean, the meta just feels like so fast and specialized right now because there's been this like crucible formed around scam that doesn't really feel like there's room for even something like Jace, but I like playing with Jace. Oh yeah, another favorite card of mine, I guess number 4 would be Jace the Mind Sculptor. I just love how many modes you have upon resolution. It's a very cool card. Yeah, I feel like there was more to that question. Other players, yeah. So at the Bosch and Roll Discord, there's a lot of great people. There's Chris, Strix, Leo, King of the Depths, Arkratos, tons of people who love Grixis Control and are always thinking of new ways when new sets come out to just get that crucial little 2-for-1 or that incremental advantage that really takes you to the mid game and sets you up for a great late game. I often like, yeah, bounce ideas off them. And as far as trying sweet stuff on my own in my videos, most of the time I play now is on camera. I've been pretty wrapped up in music for the last year now, I think. I started the channel, yeah, over just about a year ago, I think. yeah, I feel like those things kind of like coincided simultaneously, which was busy for a while. I think there was a period in September where I wasn't uploading at all. I'll never do that again, I promise. Um, and yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll sit down and play for fun. Recently, I uploaded a video that was all replay footage because even though I was just trying to release some steam, I ended up trophying, so I thought it would be good to document that. And I don't think I was trying anything fun in that video. So yeah, I guess mostly, well, let's see. I wanted to try to make a Marchesa video for fun, but that was right when Riscaminator really was solidifying its choke on the meta, and I just wasn't getting any fun footage. So the Marchesa video unfortunately did not make it. So yeah, I guess to answer your question, yes, I do often take things for a test run before I start rolling, and if I don't get anything that's worth showing, I often won't release the video because at the end of the day, I'm not really trying to just put out everything that happens to me. I'm more trying to find content that is educational, instructive, or entertaining. All right, let's keep going here. Would you be interested in applying your Grixis skills in some Pauper leagues? The format is lacking a nailed down Grixis deck, and while I've been trying, I haven't quite figured out a good list yet. Oh, wait, did I just neglect to answer this one earlier? I feel like, yeah, I feel like a while ago there was a one about Pauper. Right. Yeah, I just started focusing on the differences between other color factions in blue. I have not played much Pauper. I think I played a little bit of Pauper Synthesizer, I think the deck was, or maybe it was Affinity, but I remember not being Grixis. Maybe Grixis Affinity is like a. Oh no, you know what it was? It was like a blue black deck with Gurmag Angler and Tolarian Terror, I think, and it looked kind of fun, kind of Grixis esque, and Gurmag Angler. I missed that card. I would love to try a Pauper. Seems like a very powerful format, and also one that's very fun. And with those new lands that came out, the landscapes. Let's see here. What's it called? Seething Landscape. Perhaps I don't own one, but it's in this cycle here. It's a tri-fetch land that comes in untapped and can tap for colorless if you need it, but also you can cycle it for one color each of the faction that it's in. So it seems like it could be the glue for a Grixis deck, but I understand that playing more than two colors in Pauper can be difficult. But yeah, I'd be very open to it. Hop into my Patreon and send me a list, and I'll see what I can do with it. All right, mentioned it before, but thoughts on Raucous Theater as your surveil land of choice because waterlogged teachings makes things a bit awkward sometimes with land sequencing. Yes, I mentioned that a little bit earlier when I was addressing how I arrived at my particular mana base, and I really wanted to try Raucous Theater. I think I pretty much said everything on the matter that could be said back then. It'd be really interesting to see, but as I said before, having the black red land come in tapped could be a major liability, whereas having the blue black land come in tapped is not as big a deal just because it's two colors you need but aren't as they're not like the more proactive colors, so to speak, and will never really be hurting for blue or black sources. So having a red source that comes in tapped makes me a little nervous. But like I said, I gotta try it. You gotta try these things because it could be better. It could just be better. All right. Oh, was that the last one? Yeah, I think so. Well, thanks for sending in your questions, everyone. That was a lot of fun. I hope that it helps y'all as my audience get to know me a little bit better. I'm always trying to create community. I think once I get the Patreon off the ground a little bit more, it's doing pretty well, but once it gets going a little bit more, I'll look into making a Discord server so we can branch out into many different kinds of these like Jun style decks, fair decks that leverage incremental advantage and very tight play. I think that's pretty much the cornerstone of Grixis control and the playstyle that I'm trying to educate and impart on all the viewers. And if we could all get together and talk about it, I think that'd be really cool. So yeah, hopefully this was fun for y'all. I want to thank you all again for getting to 500 subs. It means so much to me. And I hope we hit the next 500 just like that, because then I'll be able to devote more time and energy to making even better content. So yeah, Keep that Grixis stream alive, and I'll see y'all next time.